Akashic Records are basically a field of information. Some people refer to it as like a spiritual library. I like to think about it as like quantum consciousness.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Life Choices podcast.
yeah!
Jennifer, I completed this book right here for the audience who I know they've heard me talk about it. This is The Drama-Free Way, written by yours truly, Jennifer Alley-Kern. It grabbed me right away because there's a lot of information in here for anyone who follows or is starting a lifestyle of positivity and trying to better themselves as an individual to live exactly how we talk about mentally and physically healthier. This book is an unbelievable way to start your journey. The thing that I wanted to kind of mention that like really kind of resonated with me is there's a section in the book that you talk about basically when drama thought processes are coming through your head. I think there's 8 or 9 options of techniques to kind of switch over from it. My favorite is the volume one, where you make it into a simple one-liner, the problem, the negative, the drama, and you say it at a good level, and then you keep repeating it. And then you switch it by putting in a positive one-liner, and you go from low to high to high to high. It's wonderful. How did you come up with this book? Like, where did it come from?
It was just years and years of study and being on my own personal journey and finding different perspectives and tools for understanding human consciousness and why we operate the way we do. And of course, we live in a culture that's just laden with drama. And as soon as I kind of clicked in the different pieces of where drama comes from and why we have it, I thought I can't not write a book about this. I mean, it was just obvious.
Well, what's so wonderful about it is that you get to know you through this novel. You really do share examples through your own life at the time in which you were writing this that I believe I'm a male of 47 years of age of a certain life journey that I was able to relate to 99.9% of what you were talking about in there. For anyone out there, I suggest, is there a website? Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, you can go to thedramafreeway.com. The other thing I'll say about this book is, a lot of my life experience, you can see most of it's in the first chapter, just to kind of give a framework for understanding how have I lived that journey and how what I have learned is designed to be supportive of other people, because there are a lot of things that are common trends, common themes that we all share.
Yes, you can really truly see how in your own life, how you are actually, I always say like we are our own worst enemy at times, and how sometimes it's hard to see that until you have someone that points it out to you. And a lot of people don't like it being pointed out to them from a friend or from someone in physical reality, where if you have a book that's talking to you and you can kind of like take accountability for it, which this book absolutely makes you do.
Yeah, I would say the most fundamental level, this book is designed to help you get to know yourself in ways that you wouldn't have necessarily explored otherwise,
Right.
or come to the realization. But I would say, that's a lot of books, right? Books are designed to evoke from within us new experiences of ourselves, new awarenesses of ourselves. My intention in writing it too is like, I want people to be able to read it and recognize some version of themselves in it. And I'm not sitting on a mountain, saying you need to do this and be like this. I'm saying, I've struggled through this journey. And if this is part of your experience, here are some ideas of some things that are supportive and can help you really come more into alignment with your own truth and let go of a lot of the toxic crap that you learned and you took on. That's not who you are. That's not what you were born with, right? You're born into this lifetime for a particular journey. And at some point, empowering yourself to be discerning about what you keep and what you let go of and what you rise into.
You have so much knowledge inside of you. You're not just an individual. Like for myself, I live this lifestyle because I believe it's a way that I can live happier. You live this lifestyle not only because it's true to you, but you've studied all of this stuff. So you have all this actual knowledge firsthand from the teachings from long before we were ever around, basically. And you've implemented all this into a very, very colorful life that you've lived and like still living, which is awesome. And I want to kind of switch over here because there's a big thing that has come across a lot of my feed lately because this is what I'm into. And I know that you are, if I'm saying it incorrectly, let me know, but certified in the Akashic Records. So let's get into this whole thing because this is a much bigger thing that there's a few people, I want to say they're celebrities, a bit more visibly known, that have brought this information out a few times. One of them, I'm going to forget his name. He's an actor that's all about mathematics.
Terrence Howard?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he briefly sprinkles this about in some of his conversations.
Okay. Can I start with a definition of the
100%.
Akashic Records?
Yes.
Just for people who haven't heard about it before, or maybe you've heard about it and aren't sure exactly what it is. The Akashic Records are basically a field of information. Some people refer to it as like a spiritual library. I like to think about it as like quantum consciousness. And within that field, information is stored, and it's information about every soul or every consciousness that exists. And it's information about their journey through all lifetimes.
So not just your own consciousness and every level of who you are, but all consciousness.
All consciousness pertaining to the Earth and our solar system, our galaxies, as far as I'm aware. And so when I say every consciousness, I'm specific about that because when you say soul, you think of the soul of a person, right? My soul this, your soul that. But what about the soul of a book, or the soul of a podcast, or the soul of a city, or an event, or a time period? Right? Everything, that's why I say consciousness, because everything has a consciousness because it's part of the evolution of life experience. And so every consciousness has an Akashic record, and the record holds the information that it needs in order to live its journey or do its job. Another way I like to think about the Akashic records, it's kind of like the cloud for the soul. So when you think about the cloud, can you point to the cloud?
No, it's annoying to me.
Right. It's just like,
I don't even know where it
cloud,
is.
right?
Yes.
But you know that if you want to know something about the Akashic records and you pick up your phone and you ask Google, and Google says, well, this is what the Akashic records are, you know the answer isn't in the little box in your hand. The answer's in the cloud.
Mm.
The cloud the phone just
Brings
pulls
it
the
down.
information in and puts it in a way that it can be interpreted, right? So the Akashic records are like that. It's like the cloud. It stores the information about your soul's journey. So it stores information about the arc of what your lifetime looks like, your soul's agenda. What are the different pieces of things that your soul wants to experience based on your timeline? When you're a child, it's different than when you're an adolescent or a blooming adult, than when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, right? It's constantly evolving. And there will be kind of like through lines, like similar themes all the way through. But a lot of times you go through an experience like, I'm done with that. That was great. And you're ready to move on to the next thing. But all of those things are coded into your soul's agenda. And anything about relationships, anything about vocation, anything about your soul's mission and purpose, anything about health and well-being, everything. Your relationship to everything in your life, all the information is in your Akashic records. Now, the beauty is the human brain is designed to get the information from the Akashic records. Your whole system is. It's called your intuition.
Okay.
So as you're living your life, you're always getting information from your own Akashic record. That's part of your birthright.
So you're constantly getting a download of what it is that you need. It just it just depends on how you interpret the information or put it into the code in which you could read.
Yeah, because that's your human free will. So you can get an impulse and choose to act on it or not. You could get an intuitive nudge and you can listen to it or you can not. Right? And that's that's the choose your own adventure part of the journey. But the information is all there. And now anything that is, presented to you is within the scope of your soul's agenda. You're just choosing different pathways. So, the thing that I think is really cool is that the more you clarify what's important to you, the more you get to know yourself, the more you moves through your own sort of like awakening process, the more you're receptive to those downloads and that information.
So the Akashic Records are out there. It's a basis of study that you can understand more intuitively by learning about the Akashic Records. But overall, it's a non-tangible, tangible thing that we as human beings put a meaning onto it so that we can understand it and then implement it. Does that?
Yeah, it's a little amorphous, right? And thinking about it is a little weird. So here's how it works. The information, let's think about how you get information into your human system. Information comes in through energy. Do you agree?
Correct.
Okay. So we're taking in information about what's in this room. I can see that you're a man. I can see you're sitting, like 5 feet away from me, 3 to 5 feet. I can see, there are books here. How am I perceiving that information? Through light.
Right.
Light
Okay.
is bringing in the information about my surroundings and it's coming in through my eye. I'm not seeing with my eye. The eye is what captures the information. We got little rods and codes back there, cones. It sends that information to the visual cortex, and the visual cortex perceives everything, tells me what I'm seeing. So that's the way the information gets in, simplistically put.
And it perceives it in a way in which that due to your past allows you to interpret it in the way in which you do.
Yeah, I know that's a plant.
Right.
I know that's a light.
But
I know that's a book.
But to go deeper,
those kinds of things.
Those are like like you're saying, that's like the surface idea of it. But at the same time, okay.
So we're just starting here.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with sound. Right. Sound comes in. It's like little waves, comes in, makes little vibrations through my inner ear. That sends information to my auditory cortex. And then that translates it into words, into pitches, tones, volume, all of that. Okay. So this is how we get information in that informs our human journey. It comes in horizontally. When it comes to spiritual information, I'm going to say this as a generalization, but especially when we're working within the Akashic Records, it's coming in vertically.
Okay.
So it comes in through your crown chakra, which is that little soft spot you used to have as a baby, right? Babies are born with this little soft space. And that's the crown chakra. The energy comes in there and it gets captured right below, like right through the cross section here by the pineal gland.
Mm.
The pineal gland is considered the third eye. The pineal gland has little rods and cones. When it comes to spiritual information, that information comes in on a vertical. Okay. So it comes in through the crown chakra. That light energy, it's a spiritual light, comes in, gets captured by the pineal gland. Now, what's the role of the pineal gland? The pineal gland, its day job is to moderate the amount of melatonin that's secreted because it's evaluating how much light or darkness is in the space around you, is in the room. And if it's darker, it's going to give you more melatonin so you can go to sleep. If it's lighter out, then it reduces that so that you stay awake. So, but its double role is capturing this light energy. It has these little rods and cones and it sends it to the different cortices of the brain to interpret it. So if you've ever had like a flash insight, about something that came in through your
Like a
Akashic
quick
records.
epiphany
It
or
just
something.
it just got dropped in, like it gets downloaded in. If we want to put it in scientific terms, we're going to say it's quantum packets of energy
Okay.
that get kind of like dropped in and activated in your awareness, and your brain's interpreting that. If you ever like had the flash vision of something, that comes through your Akashic records. Now, there are other ways that the human intuitive system works, but in terms of Akashic interpretation, it's mostly working like that with the brain. So for me, every Akashic record practitioner receives things a little bit differently. Like they're going to interpret a little bit differently based on how their brain is designed, based on their the accessibility they have to the records, etc.
Would one be able to say based on their human experience?
That's going to be part of it, but it's not like, I mean, in an ideal world, you're not bringing in your biases as a human, but definitely it's your interpretation of the records is going to have your voice to it. It's going to have some version of your human awareness. But I always trust, like when I'm working with my clients, that it is because it comes through my voice that it moves something in them. So I'll speak to that piece in a moment. But let me just say, so like for my brain, when I get information from the Akashic records, I usually see images first, and it's a lot of metaphor. So I'll see a metaphor of like a sailboat, or a metaphor of a rocking chair or something like that. And then we have to decode, what does that mean in the context of what this person is talking about? Or this is kind of what the energy is like right now. And people usually say, yeah, that's pretty on point. Or, oh, I can see it like that. Or I hadn't thought about it that way. Right. But it's a way of starting to think in terms of like templates and patterns, as opposed to linear logical language. So I tend to get it a lot in vision. I get things in just knowing, which is like a claircognizance. You just know something and it just comes out my mouth. And I get a lot of body sensations. So if you can see me, if I'm doing an Akashic Records session, a lot of times like my hands are moving, or my head dips over, it sits up, like something's happening in my body. Sometimes I find I'm like scrunching under my nails. Other times I'm like gripping, part of my arm or something like this, right? And I pay attention to that because that's part of the information coming through. It's moving through in a kinesthetic way.
Let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Every human, I would assume, has the ability to receive the Akashic records.
1000%.
Okay.
You're born with it.
Love this. Okay.
Yeah.
So at times, because again, every time something new happens to me, I kind of I try my best to kind of hold on to it, or like do it again and do it again. And what I mean by that is this. So sometimes when I go to sleep, I do practice this thing where like the last 5 minutes of my day, I like put like everything down, and I kind of like focus on, I have a couple affirmations that I say literally before I get into the bed to close my eyes for the night. And then once I close my eyes for the night, I still start in my brain. I still say things like that I'm grateful for, like all the little things I talk about all the time. I notice that sometimes when I'm about drifting off and I'm it's almost like I'm held in pause from being awake to being asleep. There's some weird area that I'm in. And sometimes it's as if I'm literally in a different, I want to say, well, yeah, in a different realm. Like something's going on where some information is coming in. Visually, I'm seeing things and I'm not afraid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're not sure what's happening, like in a dream, and you kind of get a bit afraid and you wake up or whatever. A part of me says, just relax, let this happen, whatever's going on. And sometimes it is almost like something else is there, but I can't see something else. Like there's a lot of visual and like you said, sensation happening. And I just kind of like, I try to focus on it and be in it. And then next thing I know, I'm sleeping, and then I wake up to go pee.
Yeah.
Like, is that possibly something of that nature, some download or something?
Yeah, sure. Because what's happening is you're shifting your brain frequency to be in a more receptive state to tuning into other dimensions or other realms of consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Akashic Records, they're for everyone. It's been there for longer than people have probably studied it or learned about it. And it basically is, if you take sessions with someone who is certified and practices all the time, you're going to be able to develop the ability to.
You mean if you're training, or
No,
if
like
you're
let's say
receiving-
I was receiving sessions from you.
Mhm.
By going through sessions with someone who is knowledgeable, certified with the Akashic Records, what are you going to benefit from
Okay.
it?
So there are 4 main things that I do in my practice with the Akashic Records. The first one is Akashic Records consulting. So that's just pulling information. You come in and you say, you know, oh, here's what's happening with my significant other relationship. I'm curious about, you know, what's going on in that dynamic. Great. Let's pull the information. This is what the soul agreement is about. It looks like this is kind of some of the energy of beauty between you, or the energy of tension between you, or whatever. It's just like giving you information. And then with that information, it'll change your perspectives. It'll inspire your choices, right? It'll help you have clarity. A lot of people feel reduced anxiety because of things that they were resisting, acknowledging, or knowing, or uncertain about. But most people feel greater sense of peace after a session. They trust their intuition more, because on some level, most of the things that I'm translating is something they already knew, because they have access to their records. You know, sometimes they didn't want to acknowledge it, or we're questioning it, or whatever, because we still deal with our own human psyche.
And for the most part, we get in our own way. And if we don't have the knowledge, or if we don't have someone letting us know, to almost reaffirm that intuition was happening, that you kind of pass it away from you. I've definitely been in situations more times than not where after the fact, I'm like, should have just listened to my gut. Should have just listened to my gut, because it was given to me clearly, as you're saying. It was passed through me. It was downloaded, in that I have an idea, and then you're like, no, better not, and go this way. And then you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Should have listened to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's so very interesting, the Akashic Records, and how more people aren't, because what we talk about is popular amongst a group of people, a community of people who are living this lifestyle a bit more nowadays than before. And you mentioned it in your book. I wish more people would follow this sort of idealism, because if more people did, more people would be vibrating off a better energy, a higher energy. More people would be happier, sharing that energy with more people. And I don't care what other people out there that don't believe in this stuff, the world would be a better place.
Well, that's the direction that we're going. So we're in the middle of a consciousness revolution, basically.
I agree with you. Yes.
And it is like one by one, people picking up that book, or having this conversation, or tuning into a podcast, and things sparking for them. And this will have the 100th monkey effect eventually, which is where, do you know the 100th monkey effect?
I know it because you wrote it in the book.
Okay.
100%.
So 100th monkey effect, for those who don't know, is basically the story of a monkey in Africa decided one day he wanted to wash his yams before he ate it. Or maybe she.
Yeah.
And so one of the other monkeys looks and sees, and goes and starts washing its yams. And now all of a sudden, all the other monkeys are washing their yams, because they picked it up through direct observation. Well, once it hits the 100th monkey, all of a sudden, the monkeys in Madagascar are washing their yams.
Because that energy.
Because it got downloaded from the consciousness. And there was enough momentum built up by this critical mass, which is arbitrarily 100.
Right.
In this story. So I think humanity's going in that direction, where we will hit a critical mass, where there's a tipping point, that this higher consciousness, and consciousness is really just awareness. So it's an awareness of, first of all, our own beauty, goodness, well-being, our own light. So much of what we diminish, or are not willing to take ownership about ourselves in healthy, whole ways. Like, we're really able to embrace that and then bring it out into the world in ways that serve and uplift and contribute and make the world a better place. We're moving in that direction. And there will be a tipping point where that occurs. And I think we're going to see a phasing out of old consciousness as previous generations reach their completion point. And the children that are born now are already coming in with new consciousness. So we're in a very phenomenal transition period in terms of humanity.
Yes. Switching the energies for everybody.
Completely switching the energies. So, certainly we want to share with people and get people to wake up. But what I've learned being on this journey so long is people wake up when they're ready. And that's based on their soul's agenda. And they have human free will. And as long as they want to deny it, they can deny it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they want to accept it, they can accept it. And the best thing we can do is, model positivity. And that has to be authentic. You can't fake that.
No.
Because people will feel your vibration and results don't lie.
Yes.
So it's modeling that. It's, doing the best within yourself, to let go of any old toxic patterns, wounds, those kinds of things, and really step into your own self-authority and sovereignty and inner light and truth and all of that.
Stepping into the area in which you can be unapologetically you.
1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, like I obviously say this quite often, like I have let go of so many things that have been toxic in my life, and also moving away from those humans that are as well. I am who I am. I always will be. I have changed. I have grown into who this person is now, and I transcend this energy as much as I can to people around me. And if I notice that they're not receptive or they don't want it or whatever, I don't even need to know what the reason is, then I just kind of float away from that individual, that situation, that gathering, that event, and I solely wrap myself around individuals, places, things that are aligned with the way I'm going. And what's great is everyone that sits in that chair obviously likes what we're doing here and is part of the same community. And I express to them the importance of letting go of the old you so that the new you can become. And you will see all of the benefits from that, from learning about new things like the Akashic Records, from living a happier lifestyle, from letting go of toxic situations, places, people, and things. And before you know it, you'll be surrounded by all of this positivity. And you will notice even some of the people that you are surrounded by are your friends who weren't like that before, but because you were steadfast in your energy, they did see it. And some of them will gravitate towards it, and they'll become more vocal about it, because that's what we are. We're very vocal about this stuff to those who want to listen. I appreciate you on levels that I can't even physically express to you because of the interaction that we have had, like 3-4 episodes that we've.
This is our 4th episode.
Okay, so 4th episode we've recorded, and the fact that you are just always out there, willing to take a text message from me or a WhatsApp message from me, that really does mean a lot to me, because it just means a lot to me. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. It's just, you are a wonderful human being. You've done such an amazing thing here with this book that's available to people. I'm going to have the website down below for any viewer that wants to reach out and get the book from you or from the website.
One thing I will say for anyone who does want to reach out, we'll have the link that you can get the book. You'll just want to contact me directly, and there's a contact form on my website. On the website too, there's also an Akashic Records page, and there you can book a free introduction call. So that would give us a chance to meet. I can hear, learn a little bit about you, see, is the Akashic Records a good match for you at this time? How might it serve you in your life? And it doesn't cost you anything, and we get a chance to know each other. You can be in the vibe with me for a minute.
Thank you once again, Allie, for coming out. I appreciate you.
Thank you
Words
so
can't
much
even
for
express
having
it.
me.
So thank you once again, each and every week, for showing up here at the Life Choices podcast. We'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Much love, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You are now about
The Journey, Life Choices podcast.